Hi everyone, my name is Muhammad Afizuddin bin Mohammed and I'm from Polytechnic Sultan Azlan Shah, Malaysia. And today I will talk about a sensor. So, a sensor is a device that converts an energy from one form to another. So, a sensor is also a device which performs an input function because they sense a physical change in some characteristic. So, a sensor is also have different types. So, today I will talk about 10 different sensors which is contain their function, their operation, their advantage and disadvantage and their application in our use nowadays. The first sensor is a temperature sensor. A temperature sensor is a device that is designed to measure the degree of hotness or coolness in an object. So the operation of the sensor is if the voltage increases, the temperature also rises, followed by a voltage drop between the transistor terminals of base and emitter in diode. So the advantage and disadvantage of the sensor is, I will talk about the advantage first. So first, it has no effect on the medium it measures. Second, it's precisely accurate. Third is respond instantly, and fourth has an easily conditioned output. So the disadvantage of this sensor is altered by environmental change and contamination. So the application of the temperature sensor is used in many industries such as medical, motorsport, industrial, aerospace, and automotive. Proximity sensor is a sensor that able to detect a presence of nearby object without any physical contact. The operation of the sensor is based on a coil and oscillator that creates an electromagnetic field in the closed surrounding of the sensing surface. So the advantage of the sensor is very accurate compared to other technologies. Second, it has a high switching rate. Third, it can work in harsh environmental. So the disadvantage of the sensor is it can detect only metallic target. Second, it has an operating range may be limited. So the application of the sensor is usually used in parking sensor. System is mounted on car bumper that sense distance of neighboring cars of for parking. Second, it's also for shade sensing in paper machine. Third, it's also used on the mobile device. So the third sensor is accelerometer. Accelerometer is a basic technology that converts mechanical motion into electrical signal. So accelerometer is also an electromechanical device that measures acceleration force. So the operation of this sensor is when acceleration is experienced by this device, the mass get displaced till the spring can easily move the mass. So the advantage of this sensor is signal can be driven down a longer cable without increased noise or loss of resolution. Second, can be operated from low cost constant current source. So the advantage of this sensor is require more expertise to operate the system. Second is feed sensitivity. The third and the lastly is hair range and time constant are fixed within the sensor. So the application of the sensor is to measure vibration on car, machine, building process, control system and safety installation. So the accelerometer is also used to measure gravity, wherein accelerometer is specially configured. So the next sensor is IR sensor. IR sensor is called infrared sensor because the sensor emits or detects infrared radiation to sense its surroundings. So the operation of the sensor is using photodiode. photodiode is sensitive to IR light of the same wavelength which is emitted by the IR light LED. So when IR lights fall on the photodiode, the resistance and the output voltage will change in proportion to the magnitude of the IR light received. So the advantage of this sensor is it provides secure communication due to line of sight or point to point. So second, infrared motion sensors detect motion in daytime and nighttime. And third, it has response time faster than thermocouple. So the disadvantage of the sensor is infrared wave at high power can damage eyes of human. So second, it supports shorter range and it performance degrade with longer distance. And the third the disadvantage is it support lower data rate transmission compared to wire transmission. So the application usually used is the sensor is used to detect the temperature of the skin. So the second is used for outdoor lighting system, and third, for an industry in everyday life such as television, for example, to interpret the signal sent from the remote control. Sensor is a device for pressure measurement of gases or liquids. So the operation of this sensor is pressure sensor respond to force applied to this area by fluid pressure. Second, the force applied will deflate the diaphragm inside the pressure sensor. So the disadvantage and advantage of this sensor is the advantage is it has small size, has a fast response, and have a high sensitivities. So the disadvantage of the sensor is it have temperature sensitive, which is when it cool or very hot and very cool, it will damage the sensor. So the application of the sensor usually used to calculate the level of fluid. So the second is pressure sensing. For pressure sensing, for example, weather instrumentation, aircraft, automotive, and any other machinery. So the light sensor is a passive device that convert the light energy, whether visible or in the infrared phase of the spectrum, into an electrical signal output. So the working operation of this light sensor is called photoresistor. It is based on internal photoelectric effect. So the advantage of this sensor is it easy use for integrate with lighting systems such as automatic lighting system. And the second advantage of the sensor is this light sensor needs small voltage and power for its operation. And the third, it offer quick response and time lower in cost and provide digital output. So the disadvantage of this sensor is highly inaccurate with high response time. And second, the resistance varies continuously and are rugged in nature. And the third, it have a temperature sensitive. So the application of the sensor is used in cell phone and tablets, and most portable personal electronics now have ambient light sensor, and the sensor is used to adjust the brightness of the lights. So the third application that use the sensor is it is used for controlling automatic light. Sensor is ultrasonic sensor. The ultrasonic sensor is an instrument that measures the distance to an object using ultrasonic sound wave. The operation of the sensor is by emitting sound wave at a frequency too high for humans to hear. They then wait for the sound to be reflected back, calculating distance based on the time required. So the advantage of the sensor is it has sensing capability to sense all the material type. The second is it can work in any adverse condition. And third, it provide good readings in sensing large size object. So the disadvantage of this sensor is it's very sensitive to variation in the temperature, and second, is more difficult in reading reflection from soft, curved, thin, and small objects. So the application of this sensor is applied to the manufacturing process for automated process, and this sensor also can streamline the production process. Sensor is smoke, gas, and alcohol sensor. So the function of the sensor is to sense smoke typically as an indicator of fire. So the second function is for security device, issue a signal to a fire alarm control panel. So the operation of the sensor is the sensor can activate at temperature ranging negative 10 degrees to 15 degrees with a power supply is less than to 5 volt. So the advantage of this sensor, it can detect alcohol, so it's used as liquid tester, and second, it has excellent sensitivity, and third, it have a quick response. So the disadvantage of the sensor, it can be prone false alarms. So the second disadvantage, it must be mounted at a low level, and the third, it can be poison, and the fourth is very high, has a very high cost. So the application of the sensor is used in gas leakage detecting equipment in family or in industry, and the second is also to avoid the noise of alcohol and cooking fumes, cigarette smoke. So the chemical resistor is material that change is electrical resistant in response to change in the nearby chemical environment. The operation of the sensor is rely on the direct chemical interaction between the sensing material and the analyte. So the advantage of the sensor is it have a very high sensitivity, and it have a limited sensing range, and it have a rapid response. So the disadvantage of the sensor is high temperature operation, and he have a high power consumption, and third, it have sulfur and weak acid poisoning. So the application of the sensor is to sensing material and the analyte. So the sensing material and the analyte can interact by covalent bonding. Last sensor I would like to talk about is potentiometric sensor. So the function of the sensor is used to determine the analytical concentration of some component of analyte gas of or solution. So the operation of the sensor is depend on the concentration of the analyte in the gas or solution phase. So the advantage of this sensor is provide strong output, so we doesn't need of additional amplifier. The second, it have simpler instrumentation, so and the third, you have high electrical efficiency, and the fourth is not expensive. And the disadvantage of this sensor is have infinite resolution and limited time life, and have a large size, and the second, it have a poor frequency to response, and third, have a tendency to develop noise. So the application that use the sensor is used to measure of change species out of gases that dissociate to give charged species in a liquid or solid electrolyte.
Mi pa, jou jou jou, jou jou jou. Mi pa, arca kus, nyam nyam nyam.